This is CNN Breaking News.
11 p.m. here on the East Coast, 10 p.m. in Chicago, where you're looking at live pictures and anger is spreading over the police shooting of a black teenager caught on camera. This is CNN Tonight. I'm Don Lemon. Laquan McDonald was shot 16 times by a Chicago police officer. That graphic and disturbing video released tonight as outrage spreads all across the city. Officer Jason Van Dyke now charged with first-degree murder. This on the day of our new exclusive CNN Kaiser Family Foundation poll reveals that what Americans are thinking and saying about race and what we have learned, well, it says a lot about where this country is headed. I want you to take a look at this. 45% of blacks say that they have felt that their lives were in danger because of their race. A lot more to come on that. But first, I want to go right to CNN's Ryan Young in Chicago on the streets. So, Ryan, take us to where you are right now.
Well, Don, you can see right behind me, this is the protesters who have stopped right here on Michigan Avenue. If you see here, this is Michigan and Roosevelt. They're all in the center of the street. They've blocked it off. In fact, you've been here so many times. Michigan Avenue, one of the busiest streets in Chicago, is all shut down in this section as police have blocked it off. They've all stood here in the center. We're going to walk a little closer to show you what's going on here. They are all screaming and chanting. They're doing what they've done in several intersections. They're blocking it off. They're having a rally. They're having conversations. And then what they do is all of a sudden they'll start walking and they'll go down another block and they'll block that off and then they'll start walking once again. The police officers who have been watching them all night, you can see them here, not in tactical gear. They are just in their regular patrol uniforms with their hats. They've been watching them all night. A lot of them on bicycle patrol, some of them in cars. What they do, the ones in cars get a little further ahead and they block off the roads. And that's what they've been doing throughout the evening to make sure people will stay safe.
Hey, Brian, I want to ask you, there's the fact that the officer...
So go ahead.
I'm out here, man. We are all gathering together.
Hold on. So wait, say that. Why did you decide to come out and protest?
Because honestly, I just came to get something to eat. Honestly, I didn't even know people were protesting out here, honestly. And I wanted to just come up here and say my piece, man. Honestly, I want to say that I commend these people for coming out here and doing something so peacefully that's really so infuriating. You understand what I'm saying? Like, this shit's been going on too damn long.
Appreciate it. See, you got to keep your words kind of tight, man. All right, so obviously, Don, you can hear people have passion. They're talking about how they feel about what's going on. A lot of times they're talking about the idea, 16 shots, and now all of a sudden the group is splitting into two groups, and they're walking down the street. That's happened several times, and we've had to follow them and try to figure out which group is going where, but that's just what's happening throughout the evening.
Thank you very much, Ryan. I was wondering how long it would take before that happened, because I want to bring in now Bakari Sellers, Mark O'Mara, and Harry Hawken to talk about this videotape. So once again, this videotape, Bakari, is at the center of what's happening now. White officer, black victim. If there was no video, do you think that we'd be seeing a first-degree murder charge?
Absolutely not. I mean, I think we all agree. I mean, the narrative of the officer is always taken over the narrative of the victim, who many times cannot be heard because they're dead. I truly believe that the story would have been that the young man either lunged at him or came at him or was walking into a crowd full of babies. But what you saw here was the video, and we're starting to see that a lot more. These cases are being illuminated.
Yeah, and this is a video, and this
I
is
can't agree with that, though.
Go ahead.
No, I mean, the fact is, the forensic evidence would have shown everything what happened in this case here. I mean, we can't just blanketly say say that the fact that if we didn't have this video, this officer never would have
But we
been
can look at the Scott case and know that he dropped a cartridge near him. We can look at the Tensing case with my client, Sandra Bose. If it wasn't on videotape, that would have been Sam being the aggressor. And then we can look at this case and say, if it wasn't on dash cam, it would have been the aggressor.
We have to look at each case individually.
I agree with that.
We can't just go back and look at the last 20 cases that occurred or something and compare those cases to this. But each specific incident is different. And nobody can say, unless you're omnipotent, all right, that nothing would have happened to this police officer.
I'm definitely not omnipotent, but what I can tell you is that 20 times is too many, Harry. That's the problem. The fact that we're here.
20 times.
The fact that the 20 times
and millions and millions. And what 20 times are we talking about?
It shouldn't happen
because I'm sure out of those 20 times, I'm not agreeing with a lot of those cases.
Over what might have been.
Right,
I think we can agree on this. Now that we have video cameras on most people's hands.
Correct.
And we really need to have them on every cop's body.
With sound.
This will now, we will have the video so that the concerns that you're talking about will not happen in the future.
You know, the whole thing is that police officers have been prosecuted in the past, without video. Oh, a lot. I spent 7 years in internal affairs. We put a lot of cops in jail.
Let him make his point. Go ahead, Victor.
2 points. One, we can talk about police. I think we have a very low bar for justice in this country. I've said it once, and I will say it 1,000 times, because officers do get indicted. In South Carolina, we indict officers all the time. But you can't point to me one time where officers actually been found guilty, where we've actually had that top level of justice. That's one. And two,
in South Carolina?
You bring up, name one time. Name one time, not just in South Carolina, name one time where an officer who has committed a murder, where an officer who's been indicted on an assault and battery of a high and aggravated nature, or a murder in the first degree has actually been found guilty. And you can't.
Well, you're going to wait for North Charleston now.
Well, I mean, now you have to wait, but I'm saying that you can't. And I don't even have faith in that.
I don't have statistics in front of me, but I could probably find them and come back and talk to you about
my point is that you can't. But even number two, I think one thing we can agree on is that we have to move towards solutions. And one of the things that you talked about is, and one of the things which is the failure in Rahm Emanuel's leadership, and I hate to go back to this, but he had an amazing moment today and he squandered it. What is he going to do to make sure that this doesn't happen again? Two, where were the body cameras on these officers? Why did they not have them already? This has been a discussion for a long period of time so we could have sound.
It's all about money.
And three, what about the transparency in the police department so we didn't have to wait 400 days for this?
Yeah, but that's not the police department's fault. I'm sure this investigation by Chicago PD was done like in 25
years.
Hang
on, we're going to continue this. You're looking at live pictures now. These are the streets of Chicago, right? Courtesy of our affiliate WLS. Live pictures now at 10:06 in Chicago Central Time. Of course, 11:06 here on the East Coast. People are starting to gather. And what they're protesting, first of all, they're protesting the death of the 17-year-old. But this video was released today, and it was so horrific that it caused people to go to the streets. People are outraged, obviously. Why do you think, after the release of this tape, do you think the officer can get a fair trial, or they're going to try to, change venues or what have you?
Here's the thing. We are very good at giving our criminal defendants fair trials. We are very good at picking a jury who does not have unnecessary infection. I was able to pick a jury in a very high-profile case, and we did it in a week and a half. You can get a fair jury in this country. So what I don't think we should say is, on the other side of the coin, we should hide the information from the public for fear that we can't get a fair trial. This defendant will get a fair trial at the right time.
Look at this video. Everyone is filming what's happening. Whatever is happening there, everyone has a video camera out.
It is 2015. From now forward, we will always do this.
Let's listen. Let's stand by. Let's listen. Let's listen.
Let him go! 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 Let him go!
So they are screaming, "Let him go! Let him go!" Obviously, there's some altercation happening. Ryan Young, who's our correspondent there, are you near this? What's going on?
Yeah, Don, we're right in the middle of this. We're on the backside. It looks like officers are trying to arrest someone. The crowd has decided they are surrounding the officers. There are video cameras now. Everyone's using their iPhones to record the situation. There is some pushing in the middle. It looks like they were trying to take somebody into custody, but the crowd does not want to let that happen. You are hearing them scream, "Let him go, let him go." They have stopped chanting right now, but there's a lot of yelling and pushing, and we are pushed to the side on a city bus here. But it looks like the crowd does not want to let the police officers take whoever they're trying to take away.
Okay, that's Ryan Young.
So you can see how this peaceful thing so far has just changed in a couple of seconds. We actually saw people running down Michigan Avenue to come back here, and then all of a sudden the officers grabbed a young man, and they are trying to pull him off the side of this bus at this point.
Well, there's no violence, right? This is just an altercation. What's an altercation in the crowd?
This is when officers get scared.
Yeah.
We've got a crowd.
Yeah, we are not sure exactly what happened, but there's definitely some pushing going on.
Okay, go ahead, Harry.
Now you got a crowd here. It looks like they want to stop the arrest of a suspect here, and that's when it gets really tough. Now this officer's going to have to call in a large backup. All right. Now they're going to have to move these people away, or we're trying to stop. Now we might have the beginning of some violence.
Aren't they trained to do that, though? I mean, aren't officers trained to do that without inciting? I mean, aren't officers taught to meet this with?
Do you want to be one officer or two officers and 20 people are around you yelling and screaming that they're going to take your person away?
I agree. I mean, I hear you.
It's a very scary incident.
Right now, you can see there's an altercation in the crowd. And again, these pictures are courtesy of our affiliate WLS. We don't have control of them. We would push in a little bit closer, but you can see the spotlights from. This is from news cameras are there on the scene. Of course, people there filming this with their cell phone cameras. Again, all playing out live now on the streets of Chicago. Bakari Sellers, go ahead.
One of the things I was going to go back to, you talked about getting a fair jury for the defendant in this case, but what many people don't want to see is the persecution of the victim in this case either. Because one of the first things that we do in this country is we go back and people start digging up the victim's past and talking about this and tarnishing this young man as if he wasn't a 17-year-old child who was a victim in this.
I haven't heard anyone do that. I'm not saying that it has not been done, but I haven't heard anyone do that yet. But again, I want to tell our viewers, you're looking at an altercation now on the streets of Chicago. We're talking about Harry Houck, who is a retired former NYPD detective, is saying this is when police officers get scared, and this is when you tend to see things
start to escalate. Because those officers, with that many people there, I can't see how many police officers are actually at that, on that scene there. But they're going to have to call for a large backup to get those people out of the way, and hopefully that those people don't start to get violent against the police officers. This could get ugly.
Yeah.
This could get ugly.
There are at least 40 officers here, by the way.
Ryan is saying, we hear Ryan Young there saying there are at least 40 police officers there, by the way. So Ryan, you're down in the middle of that crowd. What is this car? What's going on? What is this car in the middle of the street? Is this car moving? Tell us what's happening.
Well, we've been all trying to figure out exactly what kind of pushed these people into this point, because as we've been saying all night, it's remained peaceful. We're walking our way around right now trying to figure out exactly what happened. We believe somebody may have tried to drive through the crowd and it made someone upset. But at this point, you can see how the officers have tried to create a line to stop this from going on. One of the officers does have a video camera, and now the scene has moved again. We actually have two scenes going on with officers and these protesters. If you see back this way, they are screaming at the officers on this side as well. So there's two groups now kind of separating and yelling at officers. This crowd has completely changed in the last 2 minutes. We don't know exactly what happened, but this is all gone just kind of crazy in the last few seconds. And everybody's saying they're watching the officers. That's what they're screaming to them right now. We are watching you. We are watching you.
What are we hearing? What's the crowd saying there? We're also hearing what sounds like barking as people, right?
Well, that's somebody with a dog who's brought a very large dog out here.
It is a dog.
And their dog is barking. So, yeah, there is a dog. But it's not a police dog. It's someone else's personal dog. She's screaming that she's a former Marine. A lot of people have come out here and joined the crowd, and they're deciding they want to voice their opinion. So you have a collection of people. We've seen people now show up with gas masks as well, who are not police officers, a crowd of people that we haven't seen all night. So it does also look like the crowd is changing in terms of who's out here. This is not the original group of people who are protesting early in the evening.
What do you mean by that? Explain that. The crowd is changing.
Don, you remember when we were in Baltimore and we were looking at how sometimes you'd see a group of people in the crowd, and then all of a sudden the crowd would change, like outsiders were coming in. Well, we've seen some people with painted masks. We've seen people show up who are obviously kind of running around.
Our Ryan Young is out in the crowd there explaining what's going on. We are having technical difficulties with him. But again, he said there, as you can see on your screen, there has been some pushing going on in the crowd. According to Ryan, the crowd has changed. It went from peaceful to other people who are coming out. It looks like they're, obviously not as peaceful as the other folks who have been out in the crowd. But again, it doesn't look like it is out of control at this point. Chicago police have prepared for this moment. They've said as much today in the press conference with the superintendent of police, Gary McCarthy, and also with Mayor Rahm Emanuel. Again, breaking news out of Chicago. I'm here with my panel, Bakari Sellers, Mark O'Mara, Harry Houck, and we're watching the crowds in Chicago along with our correspondents and our team on the ground.
Gotcha. Can you hear me?
You won't miss a moment of it. We will be right back with the breaking news right after a very quick break. Don't go anywhere.
I'm the leading state sponsor of terrorism.